Hi guys, and welcome to another audio, another type of podcast. I don't know however you want to call it. Sorry, it's not video yet. My phone still has an issue, so you're just gonna have to listen to my voice. My voice is still struggling after the cold, so I hope you can bear with me. Today's message is inspired from a recent, I don't want to call it revelation because it seems so big, but from a recent experience, maybe better. Basically, the fact that God is interested and He cares about the details of our lives. You know that I like to be frank on this channel. You know that I like to make myself vulnerable and be authentic and put a mask down and just tell you as it is. And the truth is that I doubted that God cares about the details of my life. And I'll tell you in which way I mean. I knew that God cares. I knew that God knows all the details of our lives. But somehow I chose to believe, or I let myself be deceived to believe that it's not that God doesn't care, but maybe He doesn't get so much involved in the details of my life because He knows that I'll still love Him even if things don't happen or even if I don't see the details fulfilled. God would know that I'll continue to love Him. I thought that somehow He knew that I won't get upset or that I can bear even if He doesn't get involved in the details of my life. I don't know how else better to put it, but just basically I doubted Him in this aspect. I let myself be deceived by the evil one, believing this lie. And I will tell you how I got on the other side of understanding that I was believing a lie and that that's not what God was saying. Years ago, I heard about the story of Aggie. I don't know if you've heard about her story or if you read a book. It's Aggie. I hope I say her name properly. The Girl Without the Country. I heard part of her story and I really, really, really wanted to read the book. That was a few years ago. I kept looking, I remember, online, Amazon, eBay, just anywhere online where I could buy the book, but I couldn't find it anymore because it's not in print anymore. And as it was not translated in Romanian, my only chance was America, but I just couldn't find it. The only link I found was like somewhere over a few $100 just to buy a book. So I couldn't afford it. Anyways, I looked online to see if I can rent it, nothing. So I gave up and life went on. And then, not so long ago, actually right when like the kids had a really bad and nasty cold for like that lasted for about 2 weeks. I had a cold twice in this time. So it's just been a period like that. Somehow one evening, I just remembered about the book. I can't explain how it was, just out of the blue somehow. Although now I know why it was like that and that God does orchestrate the details of our lives. But it's just like out of the blue. And I just typed in looking for it online. I couldn't find it on the first, second, third like link. But somehow I ended up on a forum, I think. I don't even know. I don't read forums. I don't go on forums. But I just happened to end up on that link. And then in there somebody was saying that you can find the book and they gave a link. Now, it wasn't a dodgy link. I don't click links that don't seem alright. And if somebody that I know sends me a link, first thing I ask them if it's legit or if it's just a virus or a bug or what it is. Anyways, this link looked pretty legit. It was like an archive type of link. So I clicked and guess what? I found the book, guys. It was the whole book in a PDF type of format. It was more like somebody not scanned, that's the word, scanned the pages, but it was a proper library type book. Like they would do it legit, not somebody trying to kind of steal it and then share it with other people. Anyways, I found the book and I started reading it. The book has about 160 pages. It's not too thick, not too big. They're like small pages by my understanding of how it looks. And I read it in about 4 hours. That evening, I remember I was telling Sam, I have to work. I have to finish this toy, crocheted toy. But I just couldn't put it down. I read it. And it was just like, wow, wow, wow. It was basically God speaking to me through her story, through this woman's story. So although I'm gonna spoil the story, the spoiler alert, it's still like you have to read the book to see all the details of her life, which I was just left in amazement of our God and how great He is. Basically, it's the story of this couple who goes missionary in Africa in the 1920s. I think it was Congo. Might be wrong, I can't remember this detail, but basically they left the base, the missionary base, and they went into this like remote village in there trying to evangelize the people. The people kind of rejected them. Um, this couple was with another couple. At one point, this other couple left. So the original couple was left alone. It was the mum, the dad, a baby boy, and then the woman became pregnant again. And it's about this story. They kind of went on a hill outside of the village and they lived there. And the only contact they had with the people was like when once a week a boy from the village was going to sell them some meat and stuff. But during this time, the woman evangelized the boy, and the boy became a believer. Fast forward, the woman gave birth. She was sick of malaria and she died a few days after giving birth. The dad felt really discouraged and kind of upset with God that God would bring them in the middle of nowhere, give them just one fruit, which was this little boy, and his wife dying and being left with a boy and a fighting baby because the baby was a girl and she was kind of fighting for her life. He decided to go back to the missionary base. While he was there, he was really depressed and sad, and he gave the little girl to the other couple that left them earlier. And he returned back to Switzerland. He was from Switzerland, and he kind of just turned against God. He became an alcoholic, and he wanted nothing to do with God. He remarried and had other children, and just life. He continued being an alcoholic, basically. The little girl, the adoptive parents, they both died in like a span of a few days. They were poisoned with something. And then another couple that came from America took the little girl. They brought her back to America with them, and she was called the part of the title, The Girl Without Country, because for years on end they were trying to get a legit custody of the girl and do her papers as an American citizen, but because she had no papers in Africa, she was basically considered a girl without a country because nobody wanted to take responsibility of her none of the countries. Anyways, to cut the story short, she got married, had her own children, she was a Christian, and then I think for her 30th or 25th wedding anniversary, as a present and as a gift, they decided to go and get in contact with her biological father in Switzerland and visit her family, her side of the family. Well, on the day when they're getting ready to go to the airport, she finds in the post a magazine, a few pages of a magazine, and she was saying it was the end of the book that she didn't know up to the date of the writing who signed those pages, but it was something in London of an African young man who was looking for a couple, and he was basically describing her original family, which she knew about. She knew that her mom died. She knew that she had another brother. She knew that her dad gave her to this couple. This couple died. So it wasn't hidden to her history. And there was a picture of her mom's grave as well on there. And the article was just saying that this boy, he became a Christian through the mom's testimony and the fact that in time the whole village came to believe in Christ, and that he opened I don't know how many schools and seminaries, and that somewhere close to 100,000 people became Christians because of this woman's faithfulness of bringing one little African boy to Christ. So she traveled to Switzerland, she met her dad, and then this healing time happened where the dad found out that it was not in vain, it was not for nothing, that God continued to work, although he left, although they didn't see those days just one soul, a boy. What difference can a little boy make? And look at the difference. And the dad, towards the end of his life, because he became really sick, he came back to God and he reconciled with God. So just reading this story, it kind of, I don't know how to explain it, just that the light was switched on in my head, in my brain, in my heart, and realized that I believed a lie and that the evil one was deceiving me, that God did not kind of want to or care to be involved in the details of my life. And I started taking the Bible and realizing, kind of believing it for myself for the first time, that God really does care about the details of my life, the fact that He knows how many hairs are on my head, and He cares about all the little details, unimportant details of my life. It was just like a transformation moment in a way. It was just a transformation in my heart. And I know it's a small detail. I mean, I believed in God and I do believe in God, and I always believe that He's good and that He's faithful. It's just this little area where I believed a lie and that God would care about all the other people's details, but He wouldn't necessarily get too much involved in the details of my own life just because He knew I would still love Him or I was still trusting Him even if He doesn't. But it was like just a moment where God was kind of telling me, Alex, I believe I care about everybody's life's details, and I am the same God with a weaker person, a stronger person. I care about the details of people's lives. That's why I put those Bible verses in there, where He says, if He cares about the birds, how much more would He care about you? If he dresses the lilies with so much beauty and grandeur, how much more does He care for you? And the fact that He knows about the hairs on our heads. I just took this verses for the first time as personal, in a very authentic way, not just believing it as a general thing, but really, really grasping it. And I just want you to be encouraged and know that God does care about the details of your life. Know that no matter how small the fruit of your faithfulness towards God can do big things. I mean, from a little boy, He brought a whole village. He brought 100,000, at least 100,000 souls in the kingdom of God through a little boy. So never doubt what God can do through a little seed of faith. Remember about the mustard seed. Normally we're talking about how big is your faith. God doesn't need much to do big things. He just needs a small act of obedience. That's why I always encourage people and say it's in the small acts of obedience of day-to-day life, of opening a door, giving a smile, letting somebody go in front of you in the line, saying a few kind words to the person at the till. It's not the big things, but it's in the small things that God does big things. So I just want you to be encouraged and do know that God cares about the details of your life, and do know that all those Bible verses apply to you personally. And I do recommend you to read Aggie's story. I mean, all the details are much more amazing, and you can see how she gets healed from her own trauma of, at the end of the day, she was still a human. She was still abandoned by her real parents, not understanding her real dad, and then not understanding why all these things happened. And she had to go through her whole healing, and it's quite nicely exposed in the book. But I was so encouraged through her story, so I just wanted to share this with you as well, guys, and for you to be encouraged as well. So that's about it. Sorry if you hear our neighbors screaming about. My voice is going, so I have to end. But don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Why not let me know how God has encouraged you lately? That would encourage me as well, because that's how we get encouraged, from other people's story, from sharing around and between each other what God is doing in my life, what God is doing in your life, and that's how we lift each other up. And never doubt a small act of obedience to God. God doesn't need much to do great things. Always remember that. God just needs you to be obedient in the small things for Him to do great things. I'll see you next time, guys. Be blessed. Don't forget you can always also buy me a coffee. And yeah, see you next time, guys. Bye.